Hello, my darlings. Xenia here again with your Moon Tarot Talk, right? This time we're gonna talk about a big bomb, a big explosion. So it is the full moon eclipse in Gemini, which is happening in the 30th of November, pretty much all over the world. So we don't need to adjust the date. And it is a big one, pretty much as every lunation has been in 2020 so far. It's really a big one. How I just see it in general is that you probably know, because absolutely everyone is talking about it, the winter solstice, right, in Northern Hemisphere, the 21st of December, will see the great conjunction, the so-called royal conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn at the 0 degrees of Aquarius, after, like, I don't know, hundreds of years of this conjunction not happening in air sign. And many astrologers see it as the kind of the gate opening into the Aquarian age, right? So as pretty much with everything, we can't start a new part of our lives unprepared. Like before we pass exams to go to the university, right? We need to prepare, we need to gain knowledge, we need to go to school before we ascend to, like, to some higher stage of learning and of, like, your manifestation of the site and so on and so on. So 2020 for me, it is this kind of prep school. It is very hard prep school. It's like prep school in hell, but it is what it is. And absolutely every lunation is so energetically rich with so many transits and so much going on. And this eclipse is not an exception, right? So it is happening on the 30th of November, and you know that the eclipse is always happening in the sign where the nodes are situated at the moment. So we have now Gemini hosting the North Node, the node of destiny, and the opposite sign, Sagittarius, hosting the South Node, the node of release, of karmic deaths, and so on. And this time, so the full moon is happening at the 8 degrees of Gemini, while the sun would be respectively at 8 degrees Sagittarius. Yeah, so this full moon and this eclipse actually activates the axis Gemini Sagittarius and activates the nodes, which are about, I think, at 19 degrees of the respective signs. And I think that so many astrologers have talked about it already, and if you haven't watched, please check Joanna's and Ksenia's video from yesterday, or the glorious video about, like, the eclipses and what they mean for us in Vedic astrology and in the holistic astrology that Ksenia is practicing. I'm here for a totally different reason. I'm not an astrologer. I don't really understand much on how astrology works. I'm going to talk, as always, more about archetypes and symbols and what is the lesson for us in the axis of Sagittarius and Gemini being activated. Gemini is our collective third house, right? So it is the house of throat chakra, of communication, of speaking your truth. So again, as pretty much we're talking about it at the new moon in Libra, or full moon in Libra, I think, yeah. It was about that the truth is the key word, that how we are expressing our truth, how we're positioning ourselves in the world, what transformations are happening to our belief systems. By the way, now the Jupiter is in Capricorn. Jupiter is a belief planet, yeah, and it is really debilitated in Capricorn, being in very near position to Pluto and Saturn and so on. So it is like the game changer. Everything that's happening around, it's just like, it creates this whirlpool inside of you, and things that you believed are good for you, things you believe you kind of like you trust in months ago, half a year ago, they're not just working anymore. They're just not working anymore. It gives rise to immense frustration, in my opinion, but we are all working through it together. So maybe that's the consolation of it. And that's also the kind of the lesson and the consolation that Gemini provides, because Gemini, it is about two people, it's about twins. And in the third house of communication, I see it that the main topic of this lunation is actually the dialogue, because I'm very inclined to have this abstract thinking and more like, kind of metaphysical thinking. Yes, obviously, in case you need a dialogue with someone to come to terms with a different person, with your business partner, with your romantic partner, this might be the kind of spark to push you to do this. But what I started thinking about is that let's talk about the internal dialogue, because dialogue with the other you'll figure out for yourself, but we're here to discuss more like, kind of transcendental things. So, and what came to my mind first is that I keep mentioning it in pretty much like lots of videos that I'm doing, but at certain point I was listening to the interview of Eckhart Tolle, of this very famous, I don't know how to say, guru or something, like, an extremely spiritual man. And he said the thing I never was thinking about. And then when he said it, I was like, oh God, this explains everything. He said, look, like, we are in the relationship with ourselves. We sometimes hate ourselves. We are proud of ourselves. We are guilty of what we did. And he said, okay, so who is the subject and who is the object? Who is the subject which is experiencing, let's say, this hatred, this unsatisfaction, or this pride? And who is the object? And he said, we are in constant relationship with ourselves. We have this reflection, this kind of mirror, and we see ourselves like, like mirror, it's totally my image. So what he was saying is that he thinks that the higher self, which is our better part, is in constant dialogue with our ego. So when we do something and we hate ourselves, it means that the higher self, this more knowledgeable and self, which is kind of informed by the unconditional love and the divine and the blessing of the spirit and so on, it starts assessing the actions of the ego, which is kind of like, the lower part of our personality, more like animalistic and instinctual. And how I see it is that basically we are holding constantly this mirror in which we see our own reflection. And we are in the relationship with this reflection. And this is actually what Gemini is about, not maybe astrologically, but as an archetype of twins. So it is about this dialogue with yourself and reconciliation with yourself and building maybe a new trustworthy relationship, but basically being in constant communication and in double check with what's going on. It's just really a setup, I think, for 2020 to train your higher self, to reconnect with it and to make it double check your egoic kind of egoistic inclinations on a weekly basis. Let's not say on a daily basis. We need some rest, like, after all. And when I started kind of pondering about all this, why, from my point of view, as not definitely a spiritual teacher, but more like a person with a background with history and the theory of myth and with literary criticism, why reading books evolves us, like, because it gives us a perspective. We associate ourselves with the characters, and I think it makes us better understand ourselves and the world and people around us. It kind of gives us this necessary empathy. But another thing is that definitely in mythology, and then very much in the modernist novels, so I'm talking more about like Dostoevsky, Thomas Mann, Hermann Hesse, characters, when you step out of the kind of more realistic model of realistic interpretation of characters are symbols. They embody certain ideas, and the human psychology as a whole, as a holistic kind of entity, in mythology definitely is split between different characters. That's why there is like a god embodying this one, a hero embodying this principle. It's not working like this in real life. All those principles, they're like interconnected inside of one human psychology. But in many types of literature, those kind of, how to say, contradicting principles which are inherent to us, to our soul, they're split between different characters, and it allows us to better see, like, the principle in its essence, in its kind of full embodiment. And as a literary trope, an extremely productive model is the so-called evil twin. If you Google this evil twin, you will find a gazillion of references to all world literatures and mythologies and how it is explored, like, in many types of literature, To give an example, the evil twin in Lion King, this Disney cartoon, it is this good Lion King, the father of Simba, and then his brother Scar, he is the shadow of the king. He is his evil twin. In what is it, in Gothic novel, yeah, this Mr. Jekyll, Dr. Hyde, something like this, right? So these dark, shadowy part of your personality, your ego, your alter ego, your shadow, your evil twin, your doppelganger, something that is this demonic, more wild part of you, it would be split from you in literature, yeah, so that you can assess it better. And those characters, they are in constant dialogue. They harm each other, or they try to protect good kind of protagonists. They try to protect themselves from the influence of the shadow. And there is all sorts of different dynamics in this mythology of evil twin and this trope, you know, which is essentially like, you know, why I started thinking about it from the point of view of regarding the sign of Gemini and twins as this Eckhart Tolle's idea of the dialogue between the higher self and the ego, you know, between the good protagonist and the evil antagonist with reversed moralities, who's the evil twin. In mythology, twins, you know, they are extraordinary. Giving birth to twins, it's an extraordinary thing to happen. And since then, twins, they are either extremely benefic or they're extremely malefic, or both when they are evil twin archetype, you know. It really is a very productive model in dualistic cosmologies, you know. In Zoroastrianism, the good principle is Ahura Mazda, and then there is this evil principle Ahriman, you know, and they're like brothers which embody, they're like God and devil in what evolved to be. Not really, yeah, because devil is not the evil twin of God. He's not an antagonistic principle of God, because in Christianity God is higher than devil, and God actually absolutely knows everything the devil is gonna make happen. But in dualistic cosmologies, Ahriman and Ahura Mazda, they're those like opposite principles, those twins which are in constant dialogue and battle. But you need to take it with a grain of salt, because I'm not saying that one is good and one is bad. Yeah, in dualistic cosmologies, good principle and bad principles, they're all interconnected, you know. The more abstract realization of dualistic cosmology, it is in Taoism, yin and yang, you know. Yin does not exist without yang, and the opposite, like, you know, they provide the existence of each other. Then again, speaking of other things, how it might be realized in mythologies, in Native American myths, this trope is extremely popular, because in the cosmological myths, how the earth was created, how our universe was created, it is very often by the actions of two brothers, of two twins, and one would be a cultural hero, the creator, and one would be the kind of contradicting principle, this evil twin. And then when we keep looking, it is like a plethora of examples. Like in Egyptian mythology, Isis and Osiris, they were twins. Yeah, they were not identical twins, because there was a man and a woman, but then from those incestual marriage, the whole kind of Egyptian universe was born from the myth of Osiris and Isis, you know, how Osiris became the god of the underworld, and their son Horus was born, and so on. Romulus and Remus, yeah, the legend of the foundation of Rome, you know. In Hindu mythology, there are double twin deities, Yama and Yami, and Yama in Sanskrit actually means a twin, so their names means twins, and they're the paired deities of death, so the female and the male. So I think Apollo and Artemis are also twins. So those twins, they can be absolutely anything. They can be like, you know, as I said, a good protagonist and the antagonist. They, like the evil twin, they can just be associated always with magic, with healing, with extraordinary powers, either on the good spectrum of things or on the bad spectrum of things. So that's pretty much what we have here. So when we think about it, and when we try to internalize those kind of like mythological theories, it is mostly about trying to find the evil twin within yourself. Or maybe, why to be negative necessarily, trying to find the magical twin inside yourself, like, trying to find this healing twin inside yourself. But in any way, like, I don't want people to think that I'm suggesting practicing like exercise for schizophrenia and the split consciousness. No, but it is more as accepting that as human beings we're extremely complicated, and we are composed of so many contradicting principles, like, and I think that the myth of the evil twin comes in handy for us to kind of internalize our demons, and at the same time to draw a line. Okay, this is me, and my pure self is divine and pure and with very high consciousness and willing to pass the lesson and to emanate only kind of decent and mature emotions. And then there is this evil twin, evil self, which is really stirring up the water in the glass, I think especially for this 2020, that is very much what comes in handy, like, to basically accept different parts of yourself, because Gemini in astrology, it's a mutable sign, yes, so it is about flexibility, adaptability. And this lunation, which we're going to have on the 30th of November, it is an eclipse. It's nothing good. It never has been good. It is quite an ominous event, which aged people were basically forbidden to look at, which was related with the leadership, like in ancient China, like especially the solar, I would say, eclipse, because the emperor was the sun, but the lunar eclipse as well. So it's not a particularly benefic thing. The full moon is about the completion, so our emotions are high, they're already bubbling, and then the eclipse is happening, and there is this total explosion. So I suppose this full moon eclipse is going to be full of emotions, full of frustration, full of anxieties, uncertainties. But that's where the lesson of Gemini comes in handy. It is about this adaptability, flexibility, and double checking with yourself. Okay, my evil twin, my ego, starts this constant rant about, oh, how things are unfair, how, like, things are not to any benefit for me, like, there is this bloody lockdown and so on. But then the good twin, the second part of the Gemini, is coming in handy, the voice of your higher self, of the divine, which under the influence of Gemini helps you maybe to adapt and to be more flexible. And I suppose this is the main lesson of 2020, to be more flexible, to know more how to adapt through restrictions. Because, like, you learn how to adapt only through lack and restrictions and the loss of something. We never start moving somewhere. I was talking about it in my last video, but I will repeat that that's the kind of theory of folklore, in fairy tale, the hero departs from his house to achieve more, to learn, to accomplish things, because he's lacking something. He's sitting there, he has no house, no wife, no nothing, no money, and then there is, I don't know, king issues a decree that whoever saves the kingdom from the dragon would get half of my kingdom and my daughter as a wife, and the king is like, okay, I don't have anything, like, so I'm gonna go. The creativity is sparked from restriction, and this is what we are in. We are immensely restricted by this lockdown, by this virus, but it is to kind of make us ultimately think out of the box, make peace with ourselves, and so on. Because, like, I would share with you, I was recently shocked that I think in Scotland, the Christmas markets, I suppose, were prohibited this year, and people issued a petition which was called something like "They robbed us of Christmas." I was shocked, to be honest. So for you guys, Christmas is spending cash on the market. That's what Christmas is for you. I mean, I'm a human myself. I love shopping and I love Christmas markets. I mean, I was only at once. We don't really have big Christmas markets in Ireland. I was a teenager and I was in France at the school exchange, and I was in a Christmas market in Strasbourg. That was brilliant. Yes, it's amazing. It's lots of fun. Like, there is mild wine and lots of pretty things, and it gives, of course, it gives like lots of boost to the spirit. It's amazing. But is it all which is about Christmas? I mean, I'm not even speaking if you're religious and you're celebrating the symbolic date of the birth of the Savior. It's not about this, but Christmas as such, it is this kind of like time of magic and reset and of spending time with your family and of maybe having a break from work, having a holiday, like, think about something, make a wish on the falling star, look at the snow if you have snow. I miss snow a lot. In Ireland it's raining, so there is no snow. In Russia it's snowing already, so I'm very jealous. So, but it is about, that's what is my idea, and that's what I think this lunation is very much about. In case your ego gets this, oh, they don't allow us to Christmas shopping, what a disaster. Stop thinking like this. Check up with your higher self. That's what I mean between this dialogue of those Gemini, of those twins, in the house of our common communication and throat chakra. Check out with yourself, like, okay, is this everything what is about? What is this restriction bringing up in my life? Is a positive thing. And yeah, I got emotional myself and a bit sad because this is happening. But I'm not saying this is extremely easy. I'm not saying that I am in constant check with my high self. No, I'm a human. Sometimes I'm extremely upset and I'm ranting that, oh, like I'm in the flourishing of my youth in my last years of my youth, so I'm supposed to be building my kingdoms and traveling and so on. And as a kind of during the work in academia, I was very used to this constant movement, meeting new people, networking, visiting places, and suddenly it stopped. And I'm not saying it's easy, it's extremely difficult, but that's what we are asked to do, I suppose. I'm really sorry, like I'm talkative today, but you know what, because it's lockdown, I'm sitting alone at home, I'm not even talking to anyone, so even talking to you, it's a big relief. I was once at this art exhibition. It was in London Tate Gallery, but it was of the basically Soviet artist Ilya Kabakov. He, I think, immigrated in America in Soviet times, and he does this kind of installations, more installations than paintings, with lots of paintings as well, kind of modernist paintings. And the name of the exhibition, it really kind of struck me. It was taken, Not Everyone Will Be Taken into the Future. And I keep thinking of this name of this exhibition during 2020. Not everyone will be taken into the future, because future is future, because it is different from the present. And future requires new skills, and future requires new attitudes. And in order to be in this, in this train, which would bring all of us into the future, we need to get through these painful moments of adaptability and flexibility and so on. And to finish this theoretical introduction on a positive note, I am really extremely always grateful to tarot, because tarot, working in pair with astrology, it gives us a completely different perspective. And sometimes the cards which are associated with signs, I'd say they are quite unusual, because the tarot card associated with Gemini is lovers. Yeah, it is number 6 of major arcana, and it is the card of lovers. That's not what you would expect when you think of Gemini first. But lovers is a card, exactly. It's not only about romantic love, although it is, but it is also love in general, love to yourself. Yeah, speaking of this inner dialogue, you're supposed to love yourself. You're supposed to love this ego and this evil twin, because that's how evil twin stops being evil, through love, like, through compassion shown to him as well. But this card has an extremely deep meaning of inner harmony, of alignment, of marrying and union of the contradicting principles, exactly what you were talking about. I like this card that is from the deck, Muka Tarot. And here you see that there is the girl, she's like this shepherd, and she has the green foliage. And here there is some tree on fire, yeah? So it is like earth and fire, marrying contradicting elements through love, through this union. And here there is an angel, so through this kind of taking this love as a source, from the source of the divine, of the love that God has for all of us, you know. And that's I think, like, you know, a perfect summed up idea of what Gemini can mean. Yeah, it's not only about communication with the others. It is very much about communication with the others, but not only. It's also about communication with yourself and uniting the contradictions inside you. And so, yeah, I suppose during this lunation we are invited to have this dialogue with ourselves, with whatever you want. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, inner child and adult brain, you know, or like, as I keep repeating, like higher self and ego, this evil twin, like, and so on. And I don't really know the whole idea of this eclipse being conjunct with the fixed stars Antares and Aldebaran, yeah? So Aldebaran, it's the, I think, let me check please. I think it's the, yeah, it's the eye of the bull, and Antares, it's kind of quite a malefic planet, or quite a malefic star, which is the heart of Scorpio, and they in a position. And as far as I know very little about those fixed stars. It is something related to the issues like of power and of, like, you know, what to say, like leadership and all those things. But when I think of the names of those stars, like Eye of the Bull and Heart of the Scorpio, and when they're opposite each other, as I said, again, it is just more a literal interpretation of terms than an astrological interpretation, which I'm not instructed about, and I'm not an expert in astrology in any way. But it is something like about this activating this Eye of the Bull, which is looking into the heart of Scorpio. And Bull, Taurus, yeah, in our God, what was I talking about? In astrology, yeah, Taurus is a bull. It's all about very stable, very, like, you know, very self-contained and very measured, you know, so which kind of embodies all those noble ideas of being patient, and, like, you know, of being able to create something and manifest and so on. And then there is the Scorpio, heart of Scorpio, the Scorpio, which is like all about depth and death and all the dark sides of ourselves. And so it is something about, so in what I've been talking about, obviously the Taurus, it is the good twin, and the Scorpio is the evil twin. And it is something about of looking with, imagine you have the eye of Taurus, eye of the bull, this measured, adult, very, very grounded, you know, very square attitude, not too emotional, not too like hectic, no, very self-possessed, you know, and how to say, I hope you got the idea, yeah? So kind of being really grounded and rational and calm, like, and quiet, like, you know, and observing with this objective view the heart of the Scorpio, yeah, the deep thing, this kind of maybe evil thing kind of inside. Not evil, evil is a very strong word, I keep repeating it, I'm really sorry if I'm triggering someone, but this may be, yeah, what is Scorpio, heart of Scorpio, the core of the hidden, of this ego, what is deep inside, what is in shadows, and so on. So looking at and building a dialogue with it, building a dialogue through communication. So yeah, I think it's not going to be an easy moon, but not a single moon has been easy so far. But I think we're given here a very valuable lesson. And we'll have a look at cards right now, and we'll see what it has to say, for what the spirit has to say for sign by sign. We'll pick up 3 cards as always, and as always, please comment and leave a comment in the section below. And I absolutely love all your comments, and I read all of them, and they really support me through these challenging times. And yeah, so let's do the reading, right? So let's begin with the reading, right? The first one, sign is Gemini, yeah? We always do it with the sun, who is in the spotlight of the week. So Geminis, look, the eclipse is happening in your first house. So it is about like some massive change. And the cards that came for you speak exactly of it. Surprise, surprise. So the first card that you got is Justice, followed by the Six of Swords and the Knight of Cups. Sorry, forgot what this card is. Justice, yeah, so it is Libra. And it couldn't be much more appropriate for you, because the eclipse and the full moon obviously activates your axis of the 1st and 7th house. You guys are hosting now the south node of, or north node of our destiny, and your opposite, your 7th house of Sagittarius, yeah, is hosting the south node of release of karmic debt. So those topics are involved. The full moon in general is the time when the things are reaching up their height, their peak, and then it's time to release, because the moon starts waning. So, and Libra, it is like our collective kind of like 7th house. So it is about really thinking of this axis of yourself and the others, and probably rebalancing something there, Libra, Justice, or letting go of something, moving on. Maybe along those lines, prioritizing yourself. In any way, like, there needs to be balance put in the matters relating to the 1st house and the 7th house. So how you show yourself to the world, if it's not too much, if it's not too little, how you treat other people around you, how you treat your partners, your romantic partners, your co-workers, and so on. Or pretty much all your network, how it can be adjusted, how it needs to be put in alignment and harmony and balance. And in case something really needs to be cut off, because the 6 of Swords is the card of moving out. So basically there is the woman here in this boat, and in pretty much all tarot decks, she is facing her back to us, because she doesn't need to look back, like, you know, it is a radical elimination of something. So maybe it is time to ponder if some relationship are not there for you anymore, if some relationship needs to be let go of. Another thing is that under the influence of eclipse, the law is like no rush, so you don't rush it. You can make this decision in your head if you want to move on, if you want to stop some friendship or something, if you want to reduce the relationship with someone, the conversations with someone. But in general, you don't act as yet, so that's a purely your decision in the mind. But this decision will have an extremely important consequences, because when you reassess the axis and the Libra, I don't know what's the adjective of Libra, the Libra balance between the 1st house and the 7th house, the balance between the north node and the south node. And north node, it is the node of destiny which you're hosting, so it is kind of more about myself, like self. So the destiny is self, it's like peace with myself. And in case something needs to be cut off, that needs to be done, but it's purely in your head. But the consequences are amazing, because it ends up with Knight of Cups. Cups are emotions, cups are new beginnings. It will free the room for some new relationship to come to your world, like, you know, to your life, to much more meaningful things. The Knight of Cups, like, cups is a suit of emotions, feelings. It can represent a person of a water sign, so it can be Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces. So it can be a new person coming into your life under this influence of the eclipse. You know, eclipses, they have prolonged influence. Usually full moon, new moon, the influence is about 3 days, so one before the day and one after. But with the eclipse, it can be up to half a year, you know. So once you claim the space for something new, the new will come, the new, much more meaningful, probably, relationship. And maybe even a new person, maybe even a new romantic partner, or in general good friendship. Or if you want to take it more abstract way, it is basically feeling more comfortable, more in alignment with yourself. The Knight of Cups is the Knight of the Holy Grail, you know. It is more about purifying yourself, because only the knights who are chaste, they were able to see the Grail. It is having this purity in your heart and becoming more in alignment with yourself emotionally, and having a more open heart, and living in full balance and harmony and alignment with what your heart desires, like, you know, having a heart-centered life. something along those lines. So think of what needs to be released under this full moon and eclipse it. Yeah, eclipse it, just cut it through and move on. And this will have very beneficial consequences because it will free up the space for something new to come to your life. The next one is Taurus, and for you Taurus is, why am I saying Taurus? Cancer. And for Cancer, it's happening in the 12th house. Yeah, so what is the message we have for Cancer? 12th house, yeah, of release and of karma. And I mean, when you think of the eclipse in the 12th house, that's really something very powerful. Okay, so look, you got the 6 of Cups, the 7 of Cups, and the 4 of Swords. So yeah, very interestingly, look, because every time when cards come into the kind of the numeric order of a suit or something, that's always amazing and very symptomatic. So you are on the path of some growth, but this growth presents different challenges, you know. 6 of Cups, I believe, is a very Cancerian card of its nature. It is a card of soulmate energy. It always has children, and it is like, you know, kind of a look back into your childhood and remembering how you felt as a kid. Many people have very traumatic childhoods. I'm personally not a fan of looking back into my childhood. I don't want to remember those days. But in general, as an archetype, yeah, childhood is associated with the state of peace, with the feeling of being protected. So you can mentally go back to those moments. In general, it's a card of friendship. It's a card of nostalgia. It might be a card to reconnect with someone from your past. It might mean to reconnect with some of your childhood friends, or in general, trying to recreate those kind of blissful days under the sun when nothing was troubling your mind, you know. And this card is also kind of, it has the meaning of soulmate energy and angelic energy. It is in a vibe less probably big than the star major arcana, but like the message is similar. It is kind of this feeling of the divine love and protection, but at the same time it is nostalgia. It is very bittersweet feeling. So those feelings might rush in because the eclipses, it kind of activates the emotions, and I was speaking at the introduction that this eclipse is very emotional and can bring uncertainties and anxieties. So those memories of the past may rush in, like, you know, but instead of freak out about them, it is necessary to find peace with them, because that's the message of this card. It is peace and nostalgia. Nostalgia is a bittersweet feeling, but it's a good feeling, because it means that all the bad things of the past, all the bad moments, they were forgotten and forgiven, you know. And what you feel towards those days of the past is just nostalgic feeling, bittersweet feeling, remembering something good that happened there as well, you know. And then once this is done, like, I'm absolutely sure that we will have a ton of messages about the release, because that's the full moon eclipse and that's what it is about. Especially it's happening in the sign which is now hosting our collective destiny, the North Node. Yeah, so it is all about purging the necessary in order to move closer to the finale. And the second card is 7 of Cups. So once this was purged and you make peace with your past and probably reconnect with your inner child as well. You remember, if you watched the introduction, we were speaking about this dialogue between the Gemini. They initiate this internal dialogue between different parts of yourself, and including the inner child and the adult that you are now. So maybe something like this is needed. Maybe you need to make peace with your own inner child, with your childhood, and so on. And the next step that you're getting when this is purged, you get this, sorry, that's the fluff from my sweat flying around. The 7 of Cups. I like this card. I personally very much like this card. It's an ambiguous card. I take it extremely positively, always, that there are many opportunities presenting themselves to you. That's what's happening usually when you have, like, you know, things purged and aligned and so on. The caution of this card is that you need to pick up carefully. You need to think twice what you want to pick up, where you want to go. Like I said, the message of this full moon is like no rush. Whatever decisions you're making, whatever purging, it's in your mind. That's it. You don't really act them through. It's not time for manifestation, like, you know. And When we think of it, Gemini is an air sign, and air suit in tarot, it is swords, and it is about mentality, it's about mental activity, it's not about like physical manifestations and so on. But opportunities are going to present themselves in an abundance, and it can be good and it can be bad, because you can be overwhelmed and you can either procrastinate, not knowing what to pick up, or you can do a wrong pick. But in general, it is exciting. I suppose it is exciting when we just clear our mind and we sober up in our heads and we see so many opportunities. And when we are in alignment, it is assured that the choice would be to our benefit, like, you know. But in general, in case you're trying to pick up the right road to feel or to pursue, then not to feel, to follow, I want to say, then it is the best time to take time to make your decisions. So like, you don't rush, you just really assess what's inside of all those cups and what would serve you best, like, you know, what's the right step to make. And as a continuation of this topic, your last card is Four of Swords. The card of deep meditation, is the card of deep rest. Like, there's always this tomb with the knight, you know, and the swords, which are, like, as I said, the suit of air, mental activity, they're hanging off the wall. You're not actively using them, you're not pairing, you know. No, they're on the wall and you're resting. So the right decisions come in the state of deep rest. I always take this card as also advice to meditate, like, you know, and as I said, maybe that's an advice, to be honest, for all of us, the universal advice, because with the eclipse, with the heightened energies, it is probably best to really retreat to your Cancerian shell and meditate there alone, and think of the opportunities that might come your way and whether those opportunities are worth taking a look at, and what's the best place to act, you know. Yeah. Who's next? Leo, 11th house of friends, yeah. Cool. All my Leo friends, and I was telling in my previous videos that I get along with Leos famously, love them. Can you believe it? Jesus Christ. God. Sorry. 11th house, right? 11th house, it is what? It is like Aquarian house. The society, the networks, and so on. Well, okay, we have the same card that we just got in the Gemini. Six of Swords, yeah? Moving on, letting go, just kind of embarking on a new journey without turning your head back, like, you know, like in the Genesis, is it like that, the Sodom and Gomorrah tragedy, and then the wife of Lot, she turned, yeah, and she became the pillar of salt. So not making those mistakes when you leave something and when you embark on a new journey, you don't look back. That's what this card is about. Yeah, same cards for everyone. That's what I'm telling. That's why I'm saying that we should do just collective readings. You saw I'm shuffling and I'm picking up randomly from the deck. Just the same cards are coming for everyone, because we are going through it together, like, you know. We are kind of like experiencing all those transits of outer planets, which are not personal planets, yeah, which are about like the collective shift, the tectonic shift in the basically the life of humanity. That's what it is about. That's why the same cards are coming for everyone. So yeah, it is all about like making peace and moving on, like, you know, ultimately. But like for you, this message really comes in strong because your second card is death. So it is about total closure. It is about ultimate closure. And the eclipse, the full moon eclipse, what a better moment. Think of what needs to be totally closed. Just basically, yeah, closure. That is my favorite card in the deck. It is the most positive card in a way that, how to call it? It is really a massive closure, and you kind of getting to a next stage. And the stage is, oh, that is also the card of Scorpion. Yes, the Scorpio. Is Scorpio your third house? Yeah, so there are those correspondences. Scorpio is your third house, guys, yeah? Leo first, Virgo second. No, Libra is the third house. Scorpio is your fourth house. True. And Scorpio is now, in Scorpio there is now Venus as far as I remember, and Mercury. And Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, where the eclipse is happening, yeah? So it's happening in your fourth house. So maybe it is some closure related to the fourth house affairs, yeah? So to your family, or to maybe some release related to your family, like, you know, some, I don't know, old grudges, or some grief related to the loss of the loved one, or something, or making peace with your siblings, or in general something about your household, changing it completely, maybe moving houses or something like that. But it is in general about like some massive closure, and also in 11th house where the eclipse actually is happening, yeah? So something along the lines of the Aquarian things. So I would say on the one hand, it is again about reconsidering how you and society work together. What are your friends? What are your networks? If something needs to be changed, if some probably, how to say, some ambiguity with some of your friends needs to be resolved and closed. If there was some, like, you know, push and pull with one of your friends, maybe that's the time to actually resolve this, to move on, to close it completely, to work through this together, you know, because it is like, you know, about Gemini, yeah, as I said, it is about conversations. It's our third house, to talk through things. Maybe that's what it is about. And it ends up with the Queen of Swords. It can be a person of the air sign, so Gemini, Aquarius, or Libra, or it can be you, because you're the queen or a king, you know. So the Queen of Swords is about making an, how to say, I always forget this word, unimpaired, impaired, so kind of not objective decision, yeah. So, and she has always a sword, so it is about cutting something through. So it is ultimately about sobering up in your head a lot, and looking at everything in a very objective way, and probably sometimes even in a harsh way, that you say, okay, like, I'm not coping with your bullshit anymore. We can't go on like this, like, you know, or we are not friends at all. Like, this needs to be done. I need to move on. Like, we need to close this situation, you know. So it is about making an informed decision, really thought through, really in a clear mind, but then to never look back at what you decided, just to cut it through and to keep moving. I suppose my message is over now. I hope you guys are getting what I'm talking about. Yeah, it is about cutting through. I wanted to say some words of consolation, but none come to my mind. But I believe, like, the harsh decisions, they're the best. It's like, you know, when you need to make a decision, like my friends used to say, you need to remove it, like, you know, when you have a wound and there is this plaster. If you start removing plaster like this, it's really painful because it drags the skin and so on. But you just need to do like this. So I suppose that's what I wanted to say about the Queen of Swords in relation to Leo. Next one is Virgo for you, happening in the 10th house. I'm Virgo rising, as you know. And Gemini 5 degrees is my midheaven. So this eclipse happening at 8 degrees Gemini, so it's gonna shake me badly. Looking forward to it. But in general, for Virgo's 10th house, it's the house of career. Yeah, it's a Capricorn house. So let's have a look. What's in store for Virgos for this eclipse? The 10th house. Oh, thank you very much. No, but that's what I told, like, the Tower. I'm delighted. The Tower, yeah. So things are gonna be shaken up. Many tarot readers, they take the Tower card as a very bad card. I take it as a good card. It is about ultimate liberation. You know, when you think of tower as an archetype, so many things would come to your mind straight away. Like all those princesses like Rapunzel, Brunhild in the Nibelunglied, they were all trapped in this tower. It is an extremely safe environment, but it has absolutely no excitement. So this excitement happens, the knight comes and starts, like, you know, performing tricks and releases the princess, or like prince comes and Rapunzel lets him in with her dresses, you know, and with her hair. It is a comfortable and safe environment. It's a very well-known environment. Is it necessarily exciting? Would you stay there for a long time? In those, I don't know where it's coming from, to be honest. I suppose it's some sort of philosophy. The ivory tower, yeah, that's where people of high intelligence retire, so they are not of this world, you know, like the novel of Hermann Hesse, The Glass Bead Games, about the ivory tower, this Castale, yeah, this that all the artists and scientists, the most highly intellectual people, they created their own world. They retired there. They had nothing to do with worldly politics, with pandemics, with, like, you know, wars. They had nothing to do. They were in the ivory tower. Is it good? No, not really. Because you can't lock yourself from it. The kind of the essence of life, the raw, wild essence of life, it will get you from there. And so the lightning is striking the tower and you're falling out of it. You're falling your head down. And the iconography of those figures with the head down, it reminds you of the Hanged Man card. So it means that your worldview is going to be shaken 180%, and you're going to reconsider so many things. And it is through pain, yeah, most probably. Tower implies this, because your life is shaken and you can't continue living like this anymore. But it is to the ultimate good, like, you know, it is liberation, because the Hanged Man is tied, not here, not there, his legs are tied to the branch, and then the lightning strikes and the branch is cut and you fall down. Don't crush your head. You will not crush your head, because it's soft there, because, like, that's what God wants from you. There is a promise of protection, but it is about being shaken up, but being liberating through this, like, you know, it's not about angels falling from the sky. It's not about the fall of Satan, you know. It is about falling from something that was trapping you in this illusion of comfort, you know. And then you get the Knight of Swords. Knight of Swords can be also a person, can be Aquarius, Libra, Gemini. It can actually mean this eclipse, but it is about, like, starting something new. I mean, even like continuing, you know, even kind of rushing somewhere, making plans again, like, you know, we are in the Gemini energy, so it is about this rushing forward and in your head, not rushing forward in, how to say, in real world, but making some decisions, making some plans, and trying to apply them to your real life. It is an extremely active card, and I suppose Knight of Swords is one of the most active swords in the whole tarot deck. And then we move slowly to a more dear, close to heart, hits close to home, a Virgo energy, Three of Pentacles. Yeah, so it is the kind of friendship, of collaboration. It's happening in your 10th house, yeah, Virgo, in the house of career. So in case some massive changes in your career are happening, then, like, you know, through this, again, through this thoroughly thought action, you have a promise to come, like, you know, 3, like, you know, everything was ruined, but then 3 again, the initial part, the new cycle of building something anew, rebuilding yourself, rebuilding your relationship with the others, because 3 is the card of collaboration. In this deck, it's actually brilliant. It's my new deck. I got it as a present, so I don't really know all the cards that well, but I loved that card because it's the card of collaboration, and here it's actually shown. Usually it's only implied, but here it is shown that young man who has physics, who has physical aptitude to build something, he's listening to the old man who physically cannot build anymore, but he possesses the theoretical knowledge. He reads from book, he probably did the drawing like an architect. So it is about collaboration. It is what it is. Also the card of the child, you know, when 1 + 1 to give birth to a third one. So it is about giving birth to project, to idea, to the new path in your life, like, you know. So that's extremely beneficial, but the eclipse will shake it at the start, but I think it will shake things for all of us. So that's pretty much what I'm thinking of. Oh, I got emotional because I'm Virgo, so every time I go to the Virgo energy, I'm like, I'm facing my own demons, I suppose. So I even forgot who's next. Libra is next. Libra in the 9th house. Ninth house is Sagittarian house, so it is the house of the quest, of beliefs, of high learning, yeah, of all those exciting things. So for you, Libra, this eclipse also happening in your fellow air sign. I can't believe this. We just got this card 3rd time, and I'm doing what, 5th reading or what? How is this even possible? Okay, you got 2 6. You got six of whatever wands, 6 of swords, and in the middle of them the moon. 5 is the challenging point in tarot. All the 5th, they are difficult cards. They are the cards of lack and of some less pleasant moments in life. 6, it's kind of overcoming the challenge. So in case you have overcome the challenge, congratulations. That's basically your first card. Congratulations. That's the card of triumph, of victory, like, you know, of taking a moment actually to pat yourself on the shoulder and said, like, well done. In case you don't remember straight away what victory is there to find in recent events, there is always some small one. I don't know, you baked a tasty cake. You, I don't know, instead of watching a telly, you did 15 minutes of yoga, something small. Be appreciative of it, like, you know, be kind to yourself. But there might also be a promise of a big triumph, like, you know, of a big victory with something you were planning. And it is kind of generally a yes card, that things would turn out to your favor, like, you know. And then your last card is again the 6 of Swords. So it is a card about moving out. So it is about accomplishing something and keeping going. And again, it is about closure. It is about moving on and letting go. That's all our massive, like, our underlining topics of this full moon eclipse. The release, like, you know, the letting go. I don't know, for absolutely universal advice for everyone, write on a piece of paper what you would like to release. And I don't know, if you have a tarot deck, you can take this one, like, you know, as a sort of how to say, as a sort of reminder, you know. But like for other cards that we were looking at, there was like Knight of Swords, there was Queen of Swords. So it was about kind of making decision in your head, and it was about like in this Gemini energy of mental activity and air and so on. But you got between those two kind of very active cards. One is about like kind of celebrating of creative endeavor, or like kind of trying to spark this creativity inside you. And then the other one is about letting go of the old and, like, you know, making peace with the past, not turning back and so on. In between, you get an extremely emotional card because you got the moon. Maybe it's because the eclipse is happening in your fellow air sign, you know, so kind of you are activated. Same as like Virgos are all activated by what's happening in Capricorn. Same, I suppose, our fellow elemental signs, they affect us as well. So it is for you not even about the mentality as such. It is really for you kind of an advice to go deep. Let's start with the bad news, yeah? Because this eclipse is going to be extremely emotional, and it can bring lots of frustration and anxiety and uncertainties. And that's everything what the card of the moon is about. It is about uncertainties and walking in water, in the darkness, you know, that you don't know where to go. In case you trip, you fall because there is nothing. You're like in the open lake, walking, not seeing where you're going, you know. But at the same time, you know, imagine that you are really in the darkness, walking on water. What would you do? You would not trust your sight. You would trust your hearing. You would trust the sensations, yeah, how, I don't know, the breeze is touching your skin. So you would avert, you would kind of block this channel. You would focus on something else. And that's what the moon is about. It is about not trusting your gaze, what you see, but it is trusting your intuition more. It is about relying more on other senses. if you're called to, maybe it's time for you really to kind of go deeper, consider certain things deeply. Spend this time, like, you know, in quiet environment, like, you know, reading books about astrology, or doing a tarot reading for yourself, or meditating, all those lunar female high priestess style activities, you know. And it's happening in your house of higher learning, in the ninth house of the divine quest, of the magic quest for the Holy Grail. So maybe it is about inner alignment with your values, you know, and tapping into exactly into those ancient knowledges, like ancient sciences like astrology and so on, to help better understand you, and to understand you how what you should cut off, and how you should eventually move on, like, you know, from the past, you know, but not doing it in a rushed manner, but after those like really deep conversations with self. That's our topic. Like, if you haven't watched the introduction, I was talking about it, that for me this full moon eclipse, it is a conversation with self, conversation between different parts of yourself, conversation of yourself with the ego, and so on and so on. Then we have Scorpio, yeah, Scorpio. Scorpio, you have Venus and Mercury during this full moon eclipse in your house, and for you it is happening in the 8th house of money and transformation, right? Yes. And actually 8th house, it is your house in for all of us in our collective. You are our collective 8th house. So for Scorpio, oh, Scorpio, it's okay. Okay, you got the World and the Queen of Swords and the Chariot. Sorry. So the world is the last card of the major arcana, yeah. It is the completion. It is the ending of the journey of the Fool. So speaking of transformation, if it's happening in the house of transformation, if you're still in this vibe of the new moon in Scorpio, which we were celebrating 2 weeks ago, keep going. You're still riding this wave. You're riding this wave of completing something and giving yourself the room to metamorphose and transform and transcend, you know, and transition to the new stage. It is a beneficial card because it's a card of celebration. It is the card that you probably were working well during the new moon in Scorpio, or it shook you because it was in your first house and it was some super moon. And something changed inside, like, you know, or outside. This can also mean like different things related to the world, like, I don't know, relocation, travel. I don't know how this is possible in the current circumstances, but in general it is about accomplishing something and being grateful for it, and maybe realigning with the fact that whatever you want, the universe is helping you, because that's kind of like there are 4 symbols of evangelists, you know, those 4 evangelic animals, so like the human, the hawk, the bull, and the lion, you know. So it is about those kind of, and which represent, like, you know, the whole totality of the universe, like, you know, the man, different kinds of animals, the animal of the sky, and so on. So it is about like seeing the bigger picture as well, seeing the bigger picture and relying kind of in trust and in faith to the fact that it's an absolutely idiotic cliche phrase that when you are in the right way, the whole universe is helping you. Well, it's helping in its own way, you know. It's not that easy. It's not that you're in alignment with everything and everything falls into your lap. It does eventually, but like it's through hard work of being in the flow, you know. But it is the stage for you of being in the flow. It is the stage of celebration and of, like, you know, feeling yourself as part of something bigger and trusting, like, you know, that something has ended and you have accomplished a big task, and you are now a part of the world, like through the accomplishment of whatever it was to accomplish, you know. that you left yet another blueprint and trace in this life, like, you know. And so this is the card of accomplishment. And then again, those two. So we had this card for Leo as well, like, you know. So it can be a person which is Gemini, Aquarius, or Libra, or it can be like, I don't know, someone that, you know who I'm talking about then, like, you know, that might be an advice to maybe get connected with this person and get this person's perspective or something that might help you on your journey. But if not, it is, again, as I said, for Leo, it is about making a decision, probably in your context, of where to move forward. So like you closed one thing, one particular chapter, and then the other advice and the energy which is coming into your life, it is this Queen of Swords. So it is very much about accepting the role of the Queen, and the Swords is the suit of air and mental activity and so on. So maybe looking at, like, because the 8th house is the house of metamorphosis and transformation. It's not that much about others as it is about self. At the same time, the Gemini is the communication house, so it is about the others. So you make your own decision if it's about the others or the self. But in any case, she very much, with the sword, she reminds like the Two of Swords, which is the Moon in Libra. So the Queen of Swords, she's always about a choice, of making a choice, because she has a sword of what needs to be cut off, of what needs to be rethought, because it's all about thinking, like, you know. So it is of coming up with a plan, if you wish. And then it is about moving forward. I love Chariot card. Chariot is the Cancer card. And it is about having the control of two parts of yourself, of your higher self, the white horse, of the his sphinx, and the black part, the kind of the ego, the lower part of yourself, of your personality. And that's what I was talking about in the introduction, because Gemini is the communication, and Gemini is twins. That's the dialogue between the self and the other part of the self, the dialogue between yourself and the shadow. In case this is needed, you're invited to do this, and you're invited to eclipse this, to eclipse your shadow, like, you know, and cut it, just like this woman with a sword, just like this. It's not there anymore. And but then this is a promise of moving on. So it is kind of the green light card. So yes, there will be movement on. In case you're feeling stuck, it is just kind of a temporary stuck feeling after accomplishing something, but then you keep moving, like, you know, you keep moving forward. It's also the card of the car, in case you're buying a new car. but yeah, frankly speaking, it is about moving forward in a totally new direction, and with a new attitude of having harnessed your desires, so that the good part of you and your shadow are in full control. You're this warrior who's controlling them, but also there is this kind of cloak here with stars. So it is the symbol of the universe. It's also the cloak of Mother Mary, with which she's kind of covers the saints, you know. She has the blue cloak with stars on it and so on, in kind of Catholic iconography. And it is about acting in connection to the higher realms. That's why it is a Cancer card, because Cancer is water and emotions and spirit and so on. So it is acting, moving forward, yes, but having those under control, and being kind of having antenna from your top of your head connected to the higher realms always, and that's the place you should act from. But I think for Scorpios it's going to be grand, because Scorpios are always connected with the antenna, you know, because Scorpios are deep people, deep down, and spiritual or not, but like with a certain quality of depth to them, like, you know. And the next one is the Sag, yeah. So for you, it's happening in the 7th house. Basically, the axis is activated. The sun is in your house. The sun is self, and the sun is in your 1st house, and the moon is in your 7th house, and also the south node. The south node, like, I have Capricorn sun, yes, so I just had south node in my sign for 2 years. It is not easy, because, like, in a way, what south node, it is the node of release of this, like, karmic things. And when it is happening in your 1st house, it is something that collectively we need to get rid of the lower manifestations of your house. But it is your house, it is you, you know. So it is, in a way, always rethinking yourself and changing who you are in terms of, I'll do the reading now, we'll talk a bit later. Okay. I'll just finish talking, yeah. So, because how South Node works, yeah, South Node, it is our collective release. That's what we all need to release as a collective to move to the North Node of collective destiny. Obviously, when we want to get rid of something, it's not that we want to get rid of the good manifestations of this sign. Sagittarius is a sign of high learning, of this sparkly, fiery, creative energy, you know, of philosophy and so on. We don't want to get rid of those. At least I don't want to get rid of those. Those are good qualities, this thoughtful quest, like, you know, learning more and so on. But we want to get rid of the lower manifestations of Sagittarius as a collective. So being too preachy, being like, oh, I know the truth and you suck, like, you know, of those instances of arrogance and this closed mind, you know, that only your truth is correct, the others, they're just some rubbish, you know. So it is more striving to Gemini values like open-mindedness, taking into account different possibilities, accepting the plurality of truths, you know, in a way, and so on. So for you, because those might be parts which are very much interconnected inside of you, for you, I suppose, listen to my introduction, because I was talking about it, about this eclipse in Gemini as kind of inviting us to create this stage of the inner dialogue between higher self and the ego or the lower parts of your personality. But for you, it might be also useful to work through the South Node, you know, to actually think, what are the lower manifestations of Sagittarius I am prone to? Am I too preachy? Am I too authoritative, you know, or you know yourself what to check, and just establish a dialogue between yourself and between your higher self, your Sagittarius in beautiful high manifestations and Sagittarius in lower manifestations. And you got beautiful cards, all very watery and all very spiritual. And I suppose I channeled it already in what I was just talking about. Because you start with the Two of Swords, and that's the Moon in Libra. So it is about making a choice. It is about making an objective choice of what to do and where to go, like, you know, of picking up a path of, again, it is for you, the eclipse is activating your first and seventh house, and the full moon, the moon in Libra, it is about, Libra is our collective seventh house, so it is me and the others. So maybe reestablishing the balance or making certain choices in terms of what needs to be changed in your seventh house, in partnerships, in like relationship with your friends or romantic partners or whatsoever. So some big choice needs to be made, because like that's a card of choice. And then it kind of transcends, because there is this moon in Libra, and then your second card is actually the moon. And maybe what will help you to make this choice, because she's blind here, so it kind of to make this informed choice, this objective choice, basically, yeah. So without too much emotions involved or interests, but like they just, okay, that's what needs to be done. It is probably like the energy of the moon. I will repeat myself because Libra just got the moon, and then you got the moon. I don't know why, like, yeah, because it's a moon eclipse, why? That's why. The moon, in its primary meaning, it stands for like, you know, uncertainties and frustrations. That's what the eclipse is about. There might be time of uncertainty and frustration for you, and for you more than like for anyone else, like, you know, because your first house is involved in this axis, so you're like in the spotlight as well. And then in 2 weeks time there will be the new moon in your first house, you know. So it is something about the full moon eclipse is about big release, and big release in terms of everything that you would relate to the moon. So fears or anxieties or uncertainties. That's time to release them. I don't know, that's how I see it. Journal them, I don't know. Imagine moon is the archetype of the high priestess, so it is about kind of going to a quiet, lonely space, performing certain rituals, meditating, writing a journal. I don't know, I keep getting this word fear in relation to this card for you. So it is kind of a release of fears, making a choice of how to move to a new direction. It will be always accompanied by fear, but you don't need to fear. You should eclipse this fear. I'm eclipsing everything today. I'm just eclipse this, eclipse that. I don't know even what it means. I suppose just to put kind of a dark ink stain on it, like the eclipse looks like this darkness, like just there, and we ignore it, like, you know, just not there anymore. And reconnected with high priestess archetype, like, you know, I don't know, tapping into rituals, astrology, tarot, whatever your heart is inclined to, or just basically, I don't know, having a lonely scroll in the park alone with your thoughts, like, you know, and facing your shadow, like, you know, because when the moon is high, the shadows are long, as we know. And after this is done, so you do some choice. You need to make some choice. I don't know what it is, but hopefully you would know. And then you kind of, I get a bit of like hermit vibe from this card today in your reading. I don't know why it's like going deeper down, like, you know, facing your fears and so on. And then a joy, Page of Swords. Such youthful, beautiful energy. It can mean a person who'd be Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, or it can be you. Cleansed, purged, like, you know, liberated from uncertainties, and just like, you know, facing the beauty of the new, facing the beauty of new emotions, giving room to it, just kind of having this, as if you're in the seashore, having this breath in of fresh air, and having, like, you know, the lungs full of this beautiful air, and the freshness and the excitement and the sunny day. And here is this fish. Fish is a symbol of Christ, yeah, it's the symbol of mercy, of our emotions, of our emotional fragile part. It's jumping triumphantly from this cup, from this kind of grail, which has this water of life, water of connection to the others, to yourself, like, you know. It's an extremely promising card. It is very youthful energy card, but like in general, Page of Cups is about the new beginnings in the emotional sphere, like, you know, in the sphere of emotions, feelings, and allowing yourself to be kind of like to feel new things, like, you know, because you started a new path with Two of Swords. You make a choice, you tap into this, and then you feel renewed. Renewal would be your keyword for today. Okay. So the sixth house, the Virgo house, of routine, of career, and so on. There is definitely an advice to accumulate your strengths, to brace up. I think that in general, like, well, I'm a Capricorn, so I can't help going from my own perspective, but Capricorns are, more or less all Capricorns I know, extremely driven people, and, like, you know, really ambitious. And I don't think the current situation in the world is playing lightly on any of the Capricorns. But I suppose that's the advice for this eclipse, because eclipse is eclipsing something, it's closing something, and the full moon is closing something. And we are talking about the house of routine and stuff. So I suppose it is maybe the moment to close this certain attitude to the routine we are in, like, you know, and in any way you're required to assess your current situation with all the strength required, like, you know. This is also a card of taming the wild beast with the power of love, like, you know, be kind to yourself, and trying to adjust, like, you know, because strength is very much about adaptability, and the moon is happening in Gemini, which is the sign, which is a mutable sign of flexibility, adaptability, and more than anything, because it's the air sign of like mental adaptability, of changing your attitude, your mental perspective on the situation. That's strength as well. It's not necessarily only being a Samson, like fighting with the with the lion or something, like, you know, it's also about finding ways of taming this animal, like, you know, and that requires lots of strength. Like, I mean, there's physical strength, but there is also mental strength, like endurance, resilience. And that's what is required of the situation whenever you are, like, you know, that's kind of your key card for this lunation. And then the next card, it's actually, it can be you, like, you know, it's a King of Pentacles, so it can be Virgo, Capricorn, or Taurus. But in case it's not a person, I don't know, somehow, like, in this reading I want to interpret your card as something like you be you. Like what you're talking about, the change in the current situations for everyone, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to betray yourself and stop being who you are. No, you be you. It's just that you accumulate the strength to probably find new expressions of how you can show yourself to the world, of how you can expand your material growth, or, like, you know, basically your presence in your whole life. Like, you know, it is all about kind of showing up, you know, as they say. So it is about I don't know, somehow I read those two cards as kind of finding new ways from the point of view of accumulated strength of being yourself in this world. That's how I see it. And then there is the Nine of Wands. It's a card of responsibility. It's a card of kind of like extreme tiredness, but also rest. It's kind of, oh, I've been through a lot. So maybe it's time to kind of stop for a second and think through it. And taking care of the wounds that you got on the way here. It's usually like on this person has some sort of like scarf on the head, some sort of like dressing, like the wound dressing on the head. So it means you've been through a lot, there were injuries on the way, and now it kind of, the life gives you an additional wand on which to lean upon, so that you might find yourself, like, you know, I mean, if we follow this, like, you know, you accumulate strength, you find new ways from the point of view of strengths of how to show yourself to the world, and then finally something might come which would support you as a sort of like additional point of support at which you can comfortably lean and finally maybe get some rest as well. It is the house of routine and health, so I find this advice of the cards quite appropriate, because in order to be healthy you need to rest, like, you know, and you need to be comfortable with yourself, and you need to have this core of strength inside, which would be like your your kind of wand of support on which you can lean upon in the difficult moments. Next one is Aquarius. For Aquarius, it's the 5th house of creative expression, let's put it this way, and romance and children. So Aquarius is, let's see. Oh, okay, so you guys got the Devil, you got Capricorn, yeah, and the Page of Cups and the 4 of Wands, yeah. So okay, if I take them holistically, those cards all together, I think there might be quite a bit of conflicts with your partner under this moon, because, like, you know, it brings the friction. The full moon eclipse brings the friction, brings kind of like all the things that were bubbling under the surface. It brings it to fruition, it brings it to the peak of its accomplishment, you know, both good and bad, and then it's all eclipsed, so it all has this kind of darker dimension, and you get the Devil as well. And because it's happening in your house of partnership, I don't want to limit myself to partnerships. Let's take it like as partnerships and creative expressions, more like self-expressions. So you might feel trapped either in the relationship or in terms of exactly how you express yourself or how you're living this life. You might feel really trapped. You might feel like, you know, some sort of like karmic influence on your life, like, you know, as if you're in a loop or something. But in general, it's about not hearing each other, because there is a man and a woman, and in between them is a Devil, you know. So speaking of like romantic partnerships, it is probably about just, yeah, having some sort of like dark figure between you, which means that you don't hear each other and things are not talked through, and they might get quite heightened and probably quite negative up to the point that you think that it became like a prison, you know, because that's a prison card. It can mean a Capricorn in your life simply, so in case that's something important. Capricorn is your 12th house, and that's where all those planets are now sieging. There is an extremely heavy duty Capricorn energy which is happening in your 12th house. That's why Capricorn cards, I think for Aquarius, the devil, the Capricorn card came in at least some of our readings, because like that's your point of reference at the moment, like, you know, the stellium and Capricorn. But if we take it as a sign for this particular lunation, you know, working through this in a kind of like higher aspects of Gemini. So it is about the communication and aligning in harmony the truth inside you with the truth of another person. So it is this kind of very respectful dialogue, you know, and I suppose that's what it needed to kind of get through the trap. In case we're talking about self-expression and you feeling stuck and stagnant in terms of how you can express yourself and show yourself to the world, that's again, that's the matter of the inner dialect of like your masculine, feminine, of two parts of yourself. I was talking about it extensively in the introduction. So there is some obstacle which needs to be overcame, and when it is done, then you get the Page of Cups. Beautiful card, very youthful, very hopeful. Yeah, so it is like Cups, feelings, and Page is a very youthful energy, so it's about new beginnings. And this person is also like the man, he's naked, you know, he's naked and he has this triumphant pose, like, you know, I achieved it, like, you know, it happened, I'm liberating. It's like from this card, when you look at it, you feel air and wind and breeze and salty smell, kind of air of the sea, like, you know, and those like feeling of those salty drops flowing into your face, you know, with the wind and with the breeze. So it is a very fresh card. It is like fresh, new, fresh starting, and new beginning, new fresh start. Yeah, new fresh start, and new, and maybe even the start of the new relationship, in case you feel trapped in this. I mean, like eclipses, they have usually like powerful initiating or closing role in our lives, so it can mean big changes. It is a major arcana after all, but then it will be a fresh start. And the last card is the card of the harmony at home. So it is either like, you know, improving the relationship with your partner or with your children, yeah, fifth house of the children, or just improving relationship with yourself in this house, in your body, which is a temple. So it starts on a very intense note, but then there are two very kind of relaxed and hopeful and kind cards after it, which I love it. It is really good messages. That's great. It's really great. What else is there? Pisces, yeah. For you Pisces, it's your 4th house, yeah. Fourth house of home, yeah. Until this four of wands is a card. It's kind of the card of the 4th house. It's like good things happening at home, and all this harmony, like the four corners of the earth, the 4 elements. So like something very tangible, very stable, you know. Okay, now Pisces. Interesting. Okay, Pisces, you got the first card, the Lovers. That's a Gemini card. That's for you, kind of a nod, a gentle nod from the Gemini. And then the Knight of Wands and the 4 of Pentacles. 6, yeah. Nothing really important numerologically here. But yeah, you start with, like, you know, I don't know, maybe Pisces, for you this energy of this moon would be really extremely strong. But I believe for you all the lunations are strong, because Pisces are related to the moon, and Pisces are extremely sensitive and extremely already like one feet already in the other world, you know, so you can get it quite emotionally, like, you know. But if nothing else, that's an extremely positive card. If not about the harmony at home, which might be fitting for the fourth house placement, then about the harmony inside, like, you know, balancing certain things, aligning to the truth, and expressing love both to your partners, your family, yourself, like, you know, just in case maybe that's for you, in case like this emotional new moon would bring too much friction in your life. Maybe that's the advice, just like to remember about this Gemini card in case you have like tarot deck yourself, maybe to put it next to your bed table as meditation card of the week, as a reminder that if there is too much friction, the only way to solve it is just to be very soft and loving and caring, kind of above it all, like, you know. And that's what the lovers are about. It's kind of the divine love, the divine union, but not necessarily of male and female, but also of oppositions within yourself or your conflicts with the others. It's again expressing love again to your parents, to your children, like, you know, to your siblings, to people around you, to your friends, like, you know. It is like in tarot, the card which is 100% about romantic love, it is Two of Cups. The lovers in major kind of they're big, they're philosophical, like, you know, they're about concepts. So they're not only about like physical romantic love, they are about like love in general. And that's why like in this deck and in the classical Rider-Waite tarot, there is always like some sort of divine element to this card. There is an angel or something which overlooks the situation, and there is kind of this idea that when there is union of, you know, like Jesus said that where there is a union of two, where there is a prayer of two, I am amongst them, you know, because there is kind of the element of the divine in the conversation with someone else, like, you know. It is about showing love to someone else, but also to yourself. I'm surprised to see this card, the Knight of Wands. So Leo, Sag, or Aries, like, you know. Maybe a bit of a, I don't know, a bit of an advice to check your second house, which is Aries, like, you know, the house of self-value and finances and so on. And maybe take some action there, take some action through the Gemini ideas, like communication and expressing yourself and being respectful and truthful and kind of airy, so that means like open-minded and stuff. But this is an extremely active card. It's the card of kind of coming up with the creative plan and making it happen, like, you know, going into it and giving all of you to it. And then we end up with the Four of Pentacles, which is Sun in Capricorn. I think we're already approaching the end of 2020, so like Sun in Capricorn is very timely. A bit too early, but nonetheless. The card which many would take is a kind of scarcity of finances, but in this particular way, it is something about like from the acting from the point of view of unconditional love and harmony and alignment. And then basically kind of, how to say, making peace with what you have, making I don't know, a list of gratitude or something, because this card is very often about kind of a person clinging to whatever little money he's having, so it is kind of not having enough. But there is always enough, like, you know. And especially on this card, when you look at it, he's happy with the Four Pentacles that he has. Two of them keep him grounded. One is he keeps on his kind of crown chakra, one he keeps on the lap, on the kind of sacral chakra and the solar plexus. And there is a beautiful town behind his back. So it is about, I don't know, using whatever you have, be it material means or in general, whatever you have in life, whatever you consider the circle of your possessions, to ground yourself and to inspire yourself and to open your head like a little bit. So for me, it's always the card of more like about appreciation of what you have. And I think it makes a nice kind of conjunction, if I may use this term, with the Gemini card, with the Lovers card, like, you know, expressing love and looking around and being grateful for what you have rather than for things that didn't happen or didn't come your way as yet, right? Yet. Aries, 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 Aries. Yeah, congratulations, Mars retrograde is over for you. So congratulations on this. Mm, Mars is still in your house, but now it must be empowering, you know. Now it must be empowering because Mars is in his favorite zodiac sign. It's in Aries and it's not retrograding anymore. And so yeah, it's all going well. What did I want to say? Yeah, so I hope you're feeling empowered. The donation is happening in your third house, of communication and truth. As far as I remember, also of like marketing and all those, probably all the professions related to speaking, you know, to this, using your voice. I think one came reversed. Interesting. Did I put it reversed? Oh, how interesting. Oh, that's brilliant. That's really brilliant. Okay, as you might know, watching me, if you're watching me for a while, I'm not using reversed cards. I think that tarot cards have the full potential to express what they want you to know with whatever they have. But sometimes they come reversed. I don't know how it happens. It probably when I'm shuffling it flips or something, or sometimes maybe when I'm done with reading I put them in a kind of inaccurate way, so topsy-turvy, you know, and they stay like this. But I don't know how this card happened because, as I said, like it's a very new deck. I haven't done much readings with it yet, but the last card came reversed and I want to respect this because I think it's beautiful. So 10 of Pentacles, King of Swords, and the Hanged Man reversed. It's amazing. It's exactly what I was talking about. So I will start with the Hanged Man reversed, the last card, but I want to start with it. So Hanged Man, not reversed, Hanged Man direct like this. He would be, it would be about the stagnant situation, about the situation being stuck, like, you know, you're given, let's say, a time of, a spare time of hanging, not touching the ground, not touching the sky, just not here, not there, this kind of limbo. You're given this time to reconsider, to actually get to this enlightenment. This person is very often enlightened, like, you know, the sacrifice enlightens us, the suffering enlightens us. That's how we learn. And the time is given to change your perspective, to start thinking out of the box, to change the way how you think about different things. But when it is reversed, this block is gone. And I think that it was a message for you because that was about the Mars retrograde. Not acting, but this accumulating what you want to have, working through it. But now it's a green line, finally, after the red light. So it is reversed. It is like the stagnant situation starts flowing, as if like the barricades are open and the water starts flowing. But you're already enlightened, you know? Like take all the negative experience in terms of that they shaped you to be who you are, and you're in a much better position than before you started to achieve what you wanted, to keep going. But that's a beautiful sign. Yeah, so it is reversed, so it is already again high, head is up, feet are down, so it is as it should be. It is kind of coming back more to normal dynamics of life. So it's brilliant that it came this way. The other cards are extremely positive. I don't know what to say about them. 10 of Pentacles, yeah, material success, manifestation of whatever you want, kind of in general fulfillment of wishes. It's 9 of Cups, but I always take 9 of Cups, 10 of Cups, 10 of Pentacles, 9 of Pentacles as this fulfillment of wishes card. It is also about like the perfect harmony in a family as well, because it is about the material world. It is about this kind of mutual respect with people around you, like, you know, and also reaching your full potential. Look, like here there is this man, he's pronouncing some speech, yeah, so it's your third house of communication, and other people are listening to him very attentively, you know, with respect. They're listening to his words. So maybe that's something that you need to do. Maybe there is a message that needs to be channeled, that needs to be given to someone, a message which is now probably would be a good time for you to communicate, yeah, the message that needs to be communicated. And we can only hope that this card would give you the blessing of the audience, which is attentively listening to what you have to say. And in the middle of it is the King of Swords. Yeah, so it can be Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, but it can be you if you feel that way. Like, you know, it is a person who is extremely sure of himself, who is so clear in his head, absolutely sobered up in his mind, but it is a result of the transformation. That's what kind of the lesson of the swords. The sword suit is challenging compared to other suits. Yeah, there is like 9 of swords, 10 of swords, all those like 3 of swords, all those swords piercing the heart, piercing your body. Everyone is dead, oceans of blood. But the King of Pentacles, oh, King of Swords, he always has a butterfly, and butterfly is the symbol of rebirth. Yeah, so of metamorphosis, of coming in a new shape from death, you know. And that's the symbol of King of Swords, again, like, you know, from this period of stagnation which came direct to you, which came reversed, emerging like a butterfly, you know, and emerging in this very clear state of mind, because like the king of Swords is probably the most like sober card in the deck. It's just pure rational, and pure rational, thinking about something very careful, communicating your message and rejoicing that you got your enlightenment through suffering. But now things are started turning direct, like, you know, and your planet Mars is going direct, and Chiron is in Aries as well, the healer, you know. So you're on the right track. I hope that it is, like, you know, it is something good coming your way, like, you know. 10 of Pentacles, what a great card to get. Everyone was getting like shitty cards, like, I mean, everything about like moving on and transformation and towers and difficult. It's going to be a difficult combination, I think, but well, difficult. I hope no one is scared of this word difficult. It's going to be fine. And then Taurus, yeah, Taurus, for you it is your 2nd house. Taurus, I think, is our last. Hope I didn't skip anyone. So Taurus, the 2nd house of money, of self-value, of your boss, of all those things. Oh, how pretty. Oh, no way. Okay, Taurus, last but not least, you got some bingo. You got 3 major arcana out of 3. I don't even know how this is possible. I didn't pick up the cards that were near. They were in separate parts of the deck. That's how I pick up cards. If you want to show, I pick up, for example, this one, then I go, I pick up this one, then I go, I pick up this one, like from really separate parts of the deck. But you guys, you got major arcana number 17, star. You got number 15, devil, and number 14, temperance. So if I'm looking from the bottom to the up, it is 14, 15, and 17. We're missing 16. Wow. Okay. Okay, guys, so the numbers in which I pull them up, though, are decreasing. So Aquarius got this card as well. Go listen to Aquarius. Like, seriously, I don't want to repeat the same things. But yeah, so in a nutshell, that's the devil. The devil in the center of the 3 cards, that's the Capricorn card. It is your fellow earth sign, which is affecting you, which all the Capricorn transits are obviously affecting you. But if we not speak about it as a Capricorn, it is about this kind of situation of being imprisoned or trapped, either in the relationship or inside yourself, like, you know, being in conflict, in the internal conflict. So that is quite possible. Like, if we take the 2nd house, the house of self-value, again, like, you know, I suppose for all earth signs and Taurus as well, like, you know, it is important to drive into the life, like, you know, to keep going, to keep moving, to manifest things. And I suppose in current situation it is quite difficult to do. So your self-value might start declining. But in case this card, this devil, this card of being trapped and imprisoned, is speaking about self-value, that's where the card is. Sorry, because I'm really tired by now, so my mind is just goes blank sometimes. That's why this card is coming in handy as a help, because that's the star. That's the card of the unconditional love, of soulmate energy, of, like, you know, alignment and faith and surrendering. That would be the answer. Like, I suppose surrender for the time being, just surrender and accept that you're loved, that you're protected, that you're on the right path. And in case you're on the right path, in case, just do this double check with yourself. Do you feel inspired with where you are at now? Are you feeling like inclined to achieve more on this path, like, you know? But when this card comes, it usually means that yes, you are, like, you know, because it is about the guiding star and the angelic help. And yeah, the soulmate energy, reconnecting, tapping into this energy again, like, you know, how to say, very metaphysical card in a way. It is about maybe connecting with those invisible realms, like, you know, and getting yourself liberated from this devil, you know, through this, through, like, you know, through, I don't know, some, if you feel like, you know, reading something, like, you know, spiritual, or like working with angelic energy, or even like talking to someone who is your soulmate, like, you know, your close friend, trying to figure out what is the guiding star in your life. But in general, it's the most beneficial card of the whole deck. It's just about the blessing, the unconditional mercy, you know. And on the other hand, a different advice, it's temperance. Yeah, so no rushing things, patience, step by step, thinking about the alchemical process, which is encoded in the temperance card, about, like, you know, how one thing becomes the other. She's pouring water, like, you know, it's again about like communication, about very Gemini things, how, like, you know, those, we have like two vessels, water is poured from one into another, like, you know, without losing its value, without losing its purity, you know. It is about this pure exchange of ideas, of emotions, water, yeah, of thoughts, and so on and so on. And not rushing things, being like, yeah, being, what is temperance? Temperance is Sagittarius, you know, so it is like the card of a philosopher, of a person who's constantly learning, who's learning through others, you know. So in case you're feeling trapped, you are having two the most supportive cards in the tarot deck, the Star and the Temperance, telling you that it's gonna be fine, that probably this lunation will be what you need, the kind of the momentum which will break those chains that tie you to the devil, you know, so that you can fully embrace the divine love and the beauty, the kind of alchemical procedure of metamorphosis encoded in this card of temperance. Well, that was a very beautiful message to finish with, I need to say. That was really pretty. So let me know in the comments how you feel about this lunation, what you're feeling with this moon coming our way. Are you excited? What you're thinking about the eclipses? I'm the one who is always watching the eclipse, like putting an alarm and running in the bathrobe at 3 a.m. in my yard to see if I can see the moon. I find them extremely beautiful. But this one will be a partial eclipse, so it's not going to be that impressive. But yeah, in general, it's bad luck to watch them, so don't if you don't feel like. And nonetheless, yeah, I mean, like a big kind of like bombastic thing is ahead of us, but we'll be fine. That's one of our final lessons of 2020. We are all exhausted, I know, but I hope that 2021 would be much kinder for all of us. We have exactly 1 month to survive before the great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter, and I think we're lucky to live in those times. It's something extremely interesting coming our way. And I think we all should feel privileged to be witnesses of this historical period of time. There are sad things we need to part with, in my opinion. Yeah, there are other things exciting to look forward to, but yeah, but in general, I suppose that's interesting times to be alive, which is not necessarily a bad thing, right? If you want to learn something new and evolve and develop and and become someone new, like, you know, being rejuvenated at any stage of your life you're in. This being said, I wish you a very good week and a good full moon in Gemini in a week's time, and I'll talk to you soon for the new moon in Sagittarius. Have a good week. Bye.